What is a crash out? Well, it could be many things that could be caused by different scenarios. Your friend making a dumb face after you beat them in an argument, not being able to lift the same weight you were able to lift last week, or having that one bastard place a fork or cup in the sink the moment you finish washing the dishes. These are low-key valid reasons depending on how much it happened, but like all things, there's levels to this. Finding out someone you loved was killed by a drunk driver, and the driver survived and was given only 24 months of jail, or your partner of 6 years cheating on you with the work bestie they swore you had nothing to worry about. All of these are reasons to temporarily lose your sanity for a while and just scream. And believe it or not, this can apply to dinosaurs as well. I mean, if you were abducted by aliens and then tormented for years by them just to be abandoned with your trauma, wouldn't you lose it if you saw them again in the future? Or what about having the perfect family with 3 children just to find one of them dead in a pool of their own blood? Yes, there truly are some dinosaurs in different verses that went nuts after experiencing some life-changing events, and in my opinion they are all 100% justified. So in this video I'm going to be discussing what dinosaurs I think have the biggest crash out moments in my opinion. But just before we get into it, if you enjoy this sort of content, consider hitting that subscribe button and join the Discord. But without further ado, let's get into it. The very first crash outs we're going to be looking at are the parents who lost a child. One in particular lost it even more than the other. Weirdly enough, they aren't the only dinosaur parents that went rogue temporarily because of their children. Primitive war truly was refined for its time, well, the budget given to it, simple and well put together. There are many dinosaurs and a lot operate under the guise of eliminating almost all human life they come across. However, some are more intelligent, and even though they will kill us in some horrific ways, they are smart and have emotional intelligence that's almost human-like. For example, Cyclops gathered his crew and went back just to finish off the guy who stabbed him in the eye, even though he was the one who started it. So he wanted vengeance. But by far the most complex dinosaurs in this film are the T-Rexes. Now, like the novel, well, correct me if I'm wrong because I still haven't fully read the book, there are 2 T-Rexes, a male and a female, who are almost inseparable, only leaving each other's side when it comes to hunt or defend the territory. Usually the male, and the female stays with the chicks. We get a full view of the adorable bundles of feathery joy when the soldiers stumble across the female sleeping in a dinosaur graveyard basically, and the chick's curious noises wake up the mom, which then led to a partial chase that was then carried on by the male. Like, she literally called for her man to deal with the threat and he went all the way, pursuing the soldiers no matter where they went. It took him falling off a cliff and being separated from his family by a decent distance for him to call it off. So they are basically the buck and dove of this verse, although they are much more affectionate towards each other, and they will go through hell to protect their chicks. But sadly not even they could keep a constant eye on the curious infants, and so one was killed by a stupid soldier who just thought it was another dinosaur. Like when that dude brought it back to the Russian camp, you could see the light fade from the general's eyes as he says that you've doomed us all, and he was right, because moments later the mom pulled up. But initially it wasn't aggression. She seemed to be looking for the chick and she panned down to see one of her children soaked in his own blood, dead on the floor. You can see her eyes squint in anger and a switch just flipped. I don't know if she knew the camp was always there, but I assume so seeing the size of it and all the noise. But this time she decided to destroy the place, and so she did, receiving bullets from all sides but unfazed. Her only priority was to cause as much destruction as possible, and all of this commotion soon alerts the male, who arrives, and in a short scene that honestly made me feel bad, the female goes up to her mate and seeks some sort of comfort over the loss. And just like that, both parents turned their attention on the camp and destroyed everything they saw. Soldiers were getting exploded left and right, limbs flying and vehicles being thrown around. Even a helicopter wasn't safe, with the male even taking a tank round to the body. Now, even though both were pissed, you could see just how much more angry the mom was. In this scene, you could see her blindly running through lines of armored vehicles and then attacking the tanks for shooting her mate. I mean, she was the one who spends most of her time with the chicks, so I guess she would be a little more attached to them. And in the end, these 2 animals destroyed the small Russian army for the death of one of their infants. And in the wake of all of this destruction, the pair regroup and cement their bonds once again and head off. In the final scenes in the movie, we see the family again with 2 remaining chicks of the original 3, which at least made me feel somewhat better, but it just goes to show that hell hath no fury like a mother scorned. But while these adult Rexes had something to go back to at the end, the next dinosaur is ironically a Rex Slayer in his verse, and he had nothing left but hatred for the beings who did him wrong. There are many dinosaurs in the Jurassic franchise that aren't too fond of humans, whether it be from torture or neglect. Things like the Indoraptor and Toro really don't like our kind, and even though they were treated terribly by the scientists that hated them and all of mankind with their guts, especially the Indoraptor, no creature in the verse, old movie or new, has hated human beings as much as Acid 87. When Jurassic Park 3 dropped, many, including a younger me, wondered why any dinosaur, especially one of this size, would do the most just to kill some tiny humans. I know the whole stick was big dinosaurs chasing people, but the Spinosaurus took this to the extreme. He seemed irrationally aggressive towards the cast for no reason, and most just shrugged it off as him being mad for the plane hitting him back in the day. But the reason for his manic behavior is a lot more deep, and honestly very tragic. The Spinosaurus was an illegal project by Henry Wu and Sorna, and a monstrous alteration of the real animal. With the different genomes from different things and whatever they put in there, he was much more powerful than the natural counterpart, and for being such a rare creation, he was of course treated somewhat decently for the first few moments or days. But then it all went downhill. He was tested on relentlessly, injecting and prodding him to gather as much information as possible. He had to deal with this for a few of his younger years, and after all of that he was just set loose on the island as a juvenile, when he was of no more use to them. His existence had served its purpose in their eyes, and they discarded him like you would a tissue when you blew into it. On the island at the time, he had to deal with the freed Rexes, Ceratosaurus, Raptors, and Suchomimus just roaming about. And yes, it was stated that Sorna had a population there at the time. However, somehow he managed to beat the odds and survive to adulthood, or at least semi-adulthood, because he gets bigger, and became the king of Sorna. If you were to put yourself in his shoes, wouldn't you hold some sort of grudge against the things that tormented you for most of your childhood, and did nothing to atone for their actions? Well, despite all the time that had passed, the hatred for humans still remained, because after confronting the mercenaries he was locked in, killing one up front, and after being hit by the plane, somehow was able to pinpoint the exact location where they crashed and reached there within a few moments. So this guy was just hauling it towards the crash site, where he then killed Cooper and proceeded to tear the aircraft apart, and when the humans fled he did some more running, not content in letting them escape, just to be blocked by a natural barrier, which he found a way around and then fought a T-Rex. But even he couldn't continue a chase after all of that running and fighting. So later he somehow had the ability to find humans no matter where they went. This guy could easily kill anything else for food, yet he chose to hunt down 5 humans no matter where they went on the island. However, he was eventually forced to retreat due to a wall of literal flame, but if they did not get off the island when they did, I'm sure he would have came back. Unfortunately for him, this wouldn't be the last time he had a negative interaction with our species, because not too long after, Manticore took him from his home and dropped him into a literal desert, and ran more experiments on him again, and collected samples, hence why we have the Spinoceratops. I mean, this poor dude couldn't catch a break, and if that wasn't enough, he was mind controlled and forced to fight other dinosaurs, putting his own health at risk. And what I find most disrespectful, they used him as transportation sometimes. There are many vehicles that could be used to go around a Manticore, yet some of the Manticore employees decided to ride him. These are the types of people who buy massive trucks just to compensate for things they're lacking. So he can somewhat see everything that's going on, but he can't stop it, due to his body not being able to move on his own accord. I mean, the moment he temporarily got released from the device, the first thing he did was slime the nearest person. Then later on he broke free for it for the final time, and seconds later, after he's trying to figure out what the hell is going on, a angry Rex comes flying towards him, and in the end, he decides to retreat. This guy's constant anger is honestly the most valid one in the verse. They used him as a juvenile, and even after he reached a sub-adult or young adult, more humans came and picked him up, just to do even more unspeakable things to him. So if any of his crashes aren't justified regardless of what film it was, then I don't know what is. The next dinosaur is the strongest one on the list, while unironically being the smallest, and she has a lot of rage moments, but everything in that series does, to be honest. However, the time I've seen her be the most angry was the very first episode we saw her in. As my regular viewers will know, Primal has always held a special place in my heart, and the joy that new season trailer gave me is unmatched. It looks like Spear might be traveling different realms or something to try and get back his soul and return to the land of the living, but it's not confirmed if his old partner is dead or not, which of course is Fang, a female T-Rex who took on the world with Spear. They took down entire armies of different nations, fought reality warping entities, and spiders the size of houses. But it didn't start off like this. They were hostile towards each other in the beginning. It was the loss of their families on both ends that made them so close, with both of them losing children to these red tyrannosaurs. Fang was out doing some fishing to bring back her 2 hatchlings when she saw some of the red Rexes attempting to attack her kids. So this 7-ton at max T-Rex somehow destroyed some and ripped the face off of an animal almost double her weight to protect her kids. Granted that Spear did help a bit in defeating some of the others, but then this massive Alpha Rex that's hundreds of feet long pulled up and swatted her away, and by the time she got up, it was too late. This isn't as thematically appealing like the previous 2 candidates because they had the ability to bring down their enemies, but the reason I mentioned Fang here is her blind rage. She knew that she would never be able to defeat this Godzilla-sized Rex, yet she blindly charged in, getting beat up most of the time, but she never stopped. Over and over she kept attacking until Spear eventually helped her and brought it down. After this she just went into a deep depression for a while. The only other times I've seen her this sad was when her future mate and Spear died, but that's pretty much Fang's crash out. It isn't as complex or long as the other 2, but she is a lot more emotionally intelligent than them, and has shown signs of affection towards Spear that only another human would be able to. So for her to process her children slaughtered right in front of her makes it all that more painful, even more when you realize she was willing to die. Once she was able to get a few hits on the culprit, it didn't matter. There are some more characters I'd like to cover, but in a future video, and I want to change it up a bit, with not just dinosaurs but characters in dinosaur movies or films, because there are some who literally turn into the Hulk because of what they lost. However, that's if this video gets 2,000 likes, so get a like goal and you guys are set. But let me know what you think in the comments. Are there any other dinosaurs you think should have been on the list? And if so, why? Because it would be interesting. But that's all for now folks, I'll see you later.